Namaste. Welcome to Crazy Monks. Today we shall talk about a sannyasi who came from US to India in search of peace. And finally, he found his answers to all his questions under the feet of a guru called Neem Karoli Baba. Yes, we're talking about Richard Alph, also known as Ramdass. Richard Alph, also known as Ramdass, was born in a Jewish family in US. From his very childhood, he was an atheist. After completing his graduation, Richard joined Stanford University to do his PhD in psychology. He became a professor in Harvard University. Over there, he met his friend Timothy. Both became very good friends. Richard and Timothy, together, they formed an organization to do some experiment in psychedelics. Both they experiment with LSD and psychedelics. When the university authorities came to know about it, they expelled both of them. This comes as an opportunity for Richard. He had known that LSD and psychedelics were not able to resolve the issues of human being permanently. He travels to India. It is said that the spiritual journey of Richard starts from here. Richard goes around different places looking for a guru, but he finds no success. So he finally decides to return back to US. Just a few days before he was to leave for US, he meets Bhagwan Das. Bhagwan Das was an Westerner and had been living in India for the past many years. Richard initially was very reluctant to go along with Bhagwan Das. But Bhagwan Das finally convinces him that he should give a last try before he returns back. So they finally start the journey towards Nainital. On the way, they stop at a hotel. Richard is unable to get a sound sleep that night. He goes to the balcony and looks into the sky. He looks at the stars and remembers his mom. His mom had died very recently. They continue with the journey the next day and finally reach Nainital. From Nainital, they go to Kanchi Dham. They move to an ashram in Kanchi Dham. In the ashram, Richard sees an old man been seated on a cart. He was surrounded by many disciples. Bhagwan Das, on seeing him, runs towards him and prostrates himself on his feet. Ramdas kept watching all this in amazement. He had never seen people falling on someone's feet like this ever before. Richard stood there, still. There was no need for him to fall on someone's feet and show respect to someone he had never known. Neem Karoli Baba had been watching all this very keenly. He sees Richard and calls him towards him. When Richard was near Baba, Baba suddenly tells him, "You were under the sky last night, looking at the stars. You were thinking of your mom. She had died of spleen." Richard was just taken aback, totally shocked. He didn't know how to respond. He had never expected anything like this to happen. Never ever had he experienced anything like this ever before. He spent his whole week over there. It came as a total surprise for him. Was Baba reading his mind? Did he know everything? All his analysis just stopped and his mind went into a silence. Ramdas had finally found the person he had been looking for. Baba asked Ramdas to be taken to a room in the ashram. Richard spent the whole week in silence, weeping from time to time. His tears could not stop flowing. Finally, after a week, Ramdas is out of the room and he's familiar with the people around. Neem Karoli Baba is his guru now and he is ready to take Diksha from him. So Bhagwan Das was assigned the task of teaching yoga to Ramdas. He also learned several techniques and methods under different teachers. Ramdas later explains that such spiritual discipline may not be required by every spiritual aspirant, but it played a very important role in his life. Richard stays with Neem Karoli Baba for several days. He clears all his doubts and gets answers to all his questions. Then finally the day comes when he has to leave for US. Baba tells him that he has to move on and continue with his duty. Richard takes a flight to US. Baba had told Richard not to speak about him to anyone, not to advertise about him. But Richard does just the opposite. Everywhere he speaks about Maharajji. He makes many followers over there and wrote many books. Miracles of Love being one of them. In this book, Richard talks about the different miracles Baba used to perform and the experience of his disciples along with him. When Ramdass returns back to India, Baba goes through the book and gives his permission to publish the book. Ramdass used to regularly visit Baba from time to time. In one of his trips, when he was away from India, Baba expires. He attains Mahasamadhi. This creates a void in Richard's life. But the most important event of his life was yet to come. At the age of 66, Richard gets a massive heart stroke. He was soon admitted to a hospital. Richard was lying on the bed and the doctors were attending him. He was in a subconscious state and he could hear the doctors speak. They were talking about his stroke. And Richard thought to himself, how could this happen to him? How could Baba abandon him? And right at that moment, he sees the image of Neem Karoli Baba. And Baba tells him, the pain in your heart is not a stroke, it's grace. Right at that moment, the pain in his heart turns into bliss. He feels love all within. The resistance within had disappeared. The ego was no more. Baba later says, it wasn't an heart stroke, it was a love stroke. And this love stayed with Ramdass till the end of his days. It never left him ever again, and he had finally attained what he had been looking for the past so many years. It was all by the grace of his Guru. Ramdass says that this love and unconditional bliss is already within us, but our ego does not allow it to come on the surface. Many people who came in contact with Ramdass felt this love and bliss showering from him. Ramdass spent most of his time and the rest of his life teaching about Maharajji and his teachings about love, and helped people with his own insight into love and God. Ramdass died very recently in the year 2019. The reason for his death is not known. During his lifetime, he wrote many books. Be Here Now, one of the best books ever written in the spiritual field, was written by him. Through these books, he inspired many disciples, and today he has many followers. We hope his soul rests in peace.